Hey everybody, happy Friday. Today is December 30th. Still 2022. One more day to go, man. One more day to go. Breaking through to 2023. I'm still Kevin Murcko, still the CEO of this company right here called Coinmetro. Yep, rocking the Coinmetro t-shirt, going old school. So hopefully everybody had a good week. Was I here last week? I don't remember. I didn't do one last week. I think I was traveling or something. Maybe I did do one last week. I don't remember what I did last week. Anyway, hope everybody had a good week, good Christmas or holiday. I don't know what you're supposed to say. Holiday break, vacation, festive season. I don't know, whatever. Yeah, New Year's is right on the forefront here. I'm sorry about the kind of video audio quality today. So just coming from a laptop. This is a studio in my house in Mexico, so it is soundproofed, so there's no echo, which is cool. But lighting isn't done, and I didn't have time to set up any other lights and have no external mic. So anyway, it is what it is. Let's jump right into it. I'm going to jump right in here. We got KDA Miner. All new stuff on Coinmetro looking good, clean and clear. Well, thank you, KDA Miner. I appreciate that. What do you consider a fair launch in crypto? I feel like everyone has different opinions on what the term means. What do you consider a fair launch? I'm not even sure how to define fair launch. Yeah, you're going to have to you're going to have to give me some more information on that one because I don't think I've ever heard that term. Maybe I'm just too much of a boomer now. I don't know. I've never heard fair launch. Hey, Kevin, hope you had a Merry Christmas. How will you be celebrating New Year's Eve? Do you have any New Year's resolutions? Yeah, my over Christmas, I spent time with my younger daughter. We kind of just went out and about and yeah, just spent time together. It was fun. In terms of New Year's, probably some dinners, some drinks with family. My middle daughter, my youngest daughter, my middle daughter's husband, and yeah, just kind of hang out, have a few drinks, have a few laughs. Nothing too overboard, nothing too crazy, but yeah, bring in the new year with some laughter, which I think is a good thing. With the beginning of the last AMA of the year, what's your personal conclusion for 2022? What's your outlook for 2023 regarding CM and the market in general? Well, 2022 is a rough year for crypto in general, right? I mean, everything that could have happened in crypto. Well, I don't want to say that because that probably tomorrow we'll see a whole bunch of other shit happen. But lots of things that people didn't expect to happen happened. Lots of things people expected to happen happened, but just in rapid succession and or maybe not exactly as they thought they were going to happen, right? So I think there's been, quite a turbulent time this past year for most of the industry. Q4 last year was amazing. Going into Q1, an immediate slowdown. We saw the markets crash. Q2, we didn't see a recovery. Q3, we saw no recovery. And in Q4, the second Q4 ever where Bitcoin hasn't outperformed, from let's say a low in Q3 into a high at the end of Q4. Only the second time in history for Bitcoin that's happened. So definitely been a rough year. I do think, though, from Coinmetro's perspective, we saw a lot of growth, and in all aspects, whether that be from amount of clients we service, whether that be to the product, obviously, and our suite of products and how we service clients and how we matured as a business. We doubled our staff during 2022, while most companies were slowing down and or cutting down. We hired some great people to help us move the ball, kick the ball down the road in order to basically accomplish the goals that we need to accomplish as a company. So in many ways, I think 2022 for me is not a write-off. I think for the market, though, in general, it's a write-off. The year pretty much just didn't happen. It was a stagnant year for price in general. I mean, obviously there was volatility like there always is, but it just was a flat year. 2023, well, I think Q1 and Q2 of 2023 are going to look a lot like 2022. Though I do think there is a possibility, depending on what happens globally, central banks start printing more money, which definitely at some point is inevitable. The U.S. Fed is probably going to raise rates at least one more time, maybe two, maybe three. But once they get through that cycle, there's only so high they can raise rates with inflation as high as it is before they're going to need to start, printing more money, reducing rates, etc. Especially if, this whole new narrative of, I don't know, 1 billion cases of COVID coming out of China leads to, the same type of ridiculousness we saw in 2019 and 20. They're definitely going to start printing money. And so when that happens, well, then all bets are off the table, because you can assume that the same thing happens. A lot of money flows into equities. A lot of money flows then into crypto. A lot of money flows into alternative investment vehicles. But you can also assume that people may assume the worst and think, shit, look what happened last time, and spend less. Consumer kind of, when you think about consumer confidence is waning. It's going to continue to wane. Stagflation is coming. So there's a lot of things that, to be honest, make the crystal ball a bit murky. But I think Q1 and Q2 we're going to see a lot of the same. That doesn't necessarily mean, I've seen predictions about, Bitcoin hitting lows end of Q1 or something like that. In terms of that type of price action, I mean, that's a guess, and somebody could be right on that guess, to be honest. But at the end of the day, I'm not confident in price predictions for Q1 or Q2. But I do think we're going to see a lot of the same going into Q1, Q2, as we saw throughout the entirety of 2022. Any end of year alpha also, what will be big things Coinmetro focus on in 2023? Well, I think, considering the market as we see it, and considering what I think clients are going to start to demand more of, I do believe we're going to be focusing on, from a product angle, one, kind of going back to fundamentals, making sure that everything, the entire product suite, and that includes things that have yet to be released, like copy trading, for example, which is the last kind of major piece of our current infrastructure, but also new features that will be released, like DCA and other similar type features that allow people to interact better with our products. And when I say go back to fundamentals, I mean that really get that whole product suite as cohesive as we can, and make sure that everything from onboarding to deposit withdrawal to et cetera are all refined. More features, more deposit options, working on just making sure that we can compete on every angle. And also on that kind of trust element, we've done a good job about building trust throughout with our current client base. But obviously not everybody knows who Coinmetro is. And so trust is going to be a thing. And I think from a product angle, that's going to mean non-custodial wallets. And that is definitely something that I want to see happen in 2023. This will allow us then to show people that, well, you can still trade with us without the need to store funds with us. And we can get around this narrative of centralized exchanges being, the bad guys. At the end of the day, centralized exchanges will always exist, whether they exist in hybrid form or they just exist as centralized exchanges. Centralization in finance isn't going to go anywhere in my lifetime, maybe in yours, but not in mine. And for the simple fact that the majority of the populace are used to using some type of centralized infrastructure. And why? Because usually, well, the goal of centralized infrastructure is to make things easier. And people understand how these things work. They've been using them their whole lives. So it's not going to go anywhere, but I think it's going to have to pivot. And I've talked about hybrid exchanges since 2017. And I think a lot of exchanges are going to start focusing on those type of things. So yeah, refocus on fundamentals, build out a lot of features, make sure that there's lots of bells and whistles and things that people can utilize within our infrastructure that currently don't exist, to help them manage their portfolio, get in and out of the portfolio, link up to other people, social kind of trading, et cetera. All these things I think are going to be kind of the big points for 2023. Apple Pay, Google Pay, Binance just announced it. We would have announced it already, but unfortunately, when you're dealing with both Apple and Google and some of the different providers in the middle, there's like 3 or 4 different counterparties that we need to deal with in order to make this work. And well, there's been delays, but it's coming. So things like that as well. Basically, ease of operations, making things as easy as we possibly can for the end user, and maintaining, kind of our status quo and how we do business, which is, well, we actually care about our clients. Some clients receive an email stating from CM stating that they would no longer assign beneficiaries to their accounts. Is that due to new regulation, or was there actual attempts to exploit that setup? So I don't actually have information on this one. My assumption would be, I don't believe it has anything to do specifically with regulation. It's probably about exploits, to be honest. Because once somebody knows, if somebody heard on Telegram, you can add a beneficiary to an account, and they just they see an email, because there are, from some way, shape, or form, they find an email for somebody that has a Coinmetro account. Maybe it's even a friend or an associate, who knows, and they just go, oh yeah, I'd like to have this beneficiary. So It could also be simply that those clients that received that email were denied the ability to add that beneficiary because of a suspicion of a potential exploit. Has CM considered adapting strategy, e.g., focusing on becoming #1 Fiat on and off ramp because of what SEX has been through this year, create USPs in those places that others do not? Deep Philippe, yeah, I think we've always done that. Becoming the #1 Fiat on and off ramp is pretty broad. Because obviously we service 3 different currencies, obviously 3 of the biggest markets in the world. However, I don't think you can really focus on becoming the #1 Fiat on off ramp, say in the US, without matching license for license every, Coinbase and Gemini in the US, which we can't do yet. When it comes to Europe, every market is kind of its own little ball game. And so, #1 Fiat on and off ramp in certain countries in Europe, sure. And yes, that is part of 2023 strategy, is more about, let's call it geolocation, so that we can focus on very specific regions and push our narrative in those regions. But I think our USPs historically haven't changed much. It's just that we haven't necessarily gone after really accomplishing those USPs when it comes to our voice, our narrative, and our marketing. Whereas I think we've done a fairly good job of accomplishing many of the USPs we have internally with our product, with our internal messaging, and with the way that we interact with our clients. Can you share what was your biggest personal and professional accomplishment and setback for 2022? I think about that one. Let's see. I'll try to start with personal. Let's see. So, biggest personal accomplishment. That's probably a hard one, to be honest, because a lot of my personal stuff, most of my personal stuff, is going to be tied to the business, to what I do at Coinmetro. I don't honestly, I don't know I don't know if I can name a biggest one. It's actually a really difficult question. And to be honest, personal and professional for me, like I said, are almost the same thing. I've already had my kids, so I didn't have, I'm not like everybody else this year having children, so already did that. So no personal accomplishment there. I don't even know if that's an accomplishment, to be honest. It's just yeah, it's not all that difficult, to be honest. But I don't know. Hard question to answer, to be honest. From a broad level, I would say that there's many things that have happened inside of the business that I am happy about. I think, for instance, our mobile app is a super accomplishment for 2022. I think we went from having something that was remedial to having something that can compete with everybody else in the market. And I think that's amazing. I think that's a huge accomplishment professionally. And when I say professional, I mean Coinmetro, not that I played a role in building out our mobile app. But from a Coinmetro perspective, I think that's a major accomplishment. Setbacks, there's always setbacks. Biggest setback, I think the biggest setback might just be tied to kind of what's happening in the market in general. I think we were poised to have an amazing 2022. The market just said, you guys are going to have to wait, along with pretty much the rest of the market, right? So had the market in Q4 continued into Q1, Q2, Q3, or Q4 now, Coinmetro would be a much different business. Because I think we were progressively building everything we needed in order to scale fast, and then the market said no, and so probably the biggest setback is probably tied to the fact that we were kind of limited to what we could do. Once again, not necessarily this time so much because of resources or so much because of let's say the lack of some type of product or feature within our product suite. Or because of whatever failures inside a different inside of different departments inside the company. What we saw actually at the end of the day was a slowdown simply based on market sentiment. Not the best answer to that question, but do you foresee any acquisitions in 2023 if the bear market continues? Could be a good opportunity to grab some good tech IP. Well, it depends on fundraising, right? So right now with the capital we have on hand, no, not really. I mean, I don't think we'd be going after really small acquisitions. I mean, really, really small acquisitions. But I do think that with the fundraising now going into Q1, et cetera, potentially, yes. And not so much whether it's a bear market or not. It's just about finding that tech at the right time. Sometimes you just have to believe in something, right? You want to get in the door early. So, trying to find that tech in its stage 1 or 2 rather than stage 10. So regardless whether it's a bear market or not, just finding things that we know we wanted to do, or things that could augment our own service menu without having to actually build out stuff ourselves. So I think 2023 we might, but it probably would be Q2, Q3. I don't think we're going to see those necessarily in the beginning of 2023. Are you planning a Starknet token listing? Don't believe so, no. At least as far as I know. Will you see an increase in XCM staking percentage in 2023? Grateful for the 4%, but I'd of course love more passive income. In order to do that, we need to make money on that staked XCM. So that is a goal and will always be a goal, and eventually will be a goal we accomplish. Whether it happens in 2023, that's going to depend a lot on market sentiment in general, because in order to make money on XCM, we're going to need a liquid book. And to get a liquid book, there's things we can do. There's things we've already done. There's things we will do. But market sentiment is always going to play a role in that, because even even now, when we're doing much more marketing than we've ever done in the history of Coinmetro, and in 2023, we're going to do even more marketing. And yes, that brings in new clients. And yes, those clients do buy XCM. But when market sentiment is low, people spend less money on alternative investments, including crypto, including Bitcoin, including XCM, including everything else. And so the goal would be yes. And I think the true goal really is to make sure that your APR goes way above 4%, but mainly due to Mars, not necessarily due to XCM percentage. Hey, Kevin, the Learning Lab posts are great, but more people would see them if they get bigger advertised on the platform and new users. Margin articles and help section on margin page, for example. Thoughts? Yeah. Also been discussed internally about how we promote those, not only internally, but let's say externally. And so that lab, those are the first posts. Obviously, they're the first ones we've done. There's going to be a lot more. And as we build out more, we're building basically a knowledge base, not necessarily an internal knowledge base, but an external one. And there will be kind of traffic pushed to those posts. They will be more integrated as well inside of our platform. So when you're on your dashboard, you can see those things, and maybe even have a tab that says go learn, so you can go somewhere and actually read about these different topics. So absolutely, we agree with you, and so does, I think, our entire marketing staff, and definitely a work in progress. Is it really that difficult to get active users? The app is great, the exchange is great, good liquidity, nice pairs, terrific support. Yet even in 22, Coinmetro declined any sort of publicity. Oh, we absolutely did not decline any sort of publicity. That is as far from the truth, I think, as you can possibly get. We probably did more outreach and more publicity in the last 2 quarters of 2022 than we did in all of 2018, 19, and 20 combined. And so, I did more interviews, articles, quotes, etc. in the last quarter than I've done in quite some time. We've also been, published in lots of different media, especially in Q4. So is it difficult to get active users? Yeah, it is. It is, because, you're competing. It's not just about, look, when the market is saturated at the top, right? FTX now being gone, but you have, Binance, you have Coinbase, etc., right? And those two guys dominate the market. Now, you need to position yourself to be able to pull clients either from those companies, or when they leave those companies, or before they see those companies. The latter is very difficult, very expensive, and something that most companies don't try to do. So you have kind of your gateway entities, which are your Coinbases and your Binances, because they're big and they're well known, and people end up there first. But eventually they figure out, for reasons they don't want to be there, and they end up somewhere else. And I think that's more or less where Coinmetro is positioned, at least, or looking to be positioned and trying to be positioned and somewhat positioned currently. So it's not that it absolutely is difficult. I mean, that's if it wasn't in any business, if it wasn't difficult to get active clients, then everybody would have a business that was successful. But most don't. And it's not just about publicity or marketing. You can do a lot of marketing and still fail. You can do no marketing and do amazingly well. So the market is what the market is. As I said in one of the last answers, had the kind of good market sentiment run into 2022, we'd be a completely different business right now, because the timing on how we were rolling out all these new features, refining, becoming a more mature brand, and being able to scale up those active users, But unfortunately, the market did what the market did, right? So we still went through an amazing process of I think maturing the brand, getting Coinmetro to a much better place than it was before. At the same time, though, sentiment sucks. So market sentiment sucks. So, but yeah, the statement there that we declined any sort of publicity is ridiculous. Like, people were coming with us, please take some publicity, and we were like, no, we're good. That absolutely did not happen. Can't believe I blew my money on this piece of shit Credo. How foolish of me to just take your word for it. I trusted the gem exchange meme and overlooked the obvious red flags. Why do this? Okay, let me continue because there's another one here from this guy. Do you just use exchange users as exit liquidity for the VCs? Why list a token when it's going to tenfold its supply? No matter how good the product is, you wait until the phase is over. Well, here we go. We're still going with this guy. Here we go. Really disappointed with you. Of course, it's mainly my fault, but my trust in your word has plummeted, and I'm really financially hurt because I listened to your glamorization. All right, I think that's the last one. So, all right, I'll take this one from the top. So, I think, no, we don't provide exit liquidity for VCs. You can easily see that. Just go back and look at the volumes on Credo. It's obvious that we weren't providing exit liquidity. Why did we list a token when it's going to tenfold its supply? Look, tokenomics are a part of what we look at when we list a token. And if you're under the assumption, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again, if you're under the assumption that everything we list is going to do well, simply because I say it, someone else says it, then, this is probably a cheap lesson, to be honest, as an investor. You mentioned that it's mainly your fault. Well, a little bit of real world for you. It's entirely your fault. That's the way things work. I've made a lot of investments in my life that didn't go well, and I've made some that went surprisingly well. No one's right 100% of the time, and it's not my money you're investing, it's yours. And so when you invest your money, you need to do your own research. If you believe through those tokenomics that it's not going to do well, if you don't believe that the price point is the right price point for you, don't buy. Doesn't matter what anybody says. Why do we do it? Because I believe in the company. I believe in the company. I still do. Whether or not I know that the supply arguments, and these supply arguments were made when we listed it and we talked about it, and I explained to our viewers why I still listed the token even though the overall supply was going to increase. If you think about the current market, the way it is now, with more and more exchanges are going to now start focusing on non-custodial deposits, that's going to be great for Credo. Now, getting their tokenomics to a point where it's more integrated with their products, so that as their product scales, their product does better, that the token as well does better, is part of what they need to do. And I also explained that when I talked about Credo. So, I'm sorry that you're disappointed in me. If you thought I was going to be right 100% of the time, please be disappointed in yourself, because that's irrational, and you should never think that about anybody. It's just the way it is. If you look at everything we listed, we've still listed, I think, some very good options, and even now in this market are still higher than when we listed them. But not everything's going to do that. No one's right 100% of the time. In fact, most people are right way less than 100% of the time. I still like Credo. I still own some Credo. I bought at some shitty price points. I bought at some better price points. That's it. If you put too much money in one asset, you are not a good investor. You need to rethink your strategy. That's not anybody's fault but yours. That's part of this is about educating yourself. People like to blame everybody else because someone told them something and they listened, but you listened, right? That is the problem. There is no, ulterior motive for listing any asset here. We weren't paid to list it. There is absolutely no VC. Again, just look at the volumes. It should be painfully obvious that there's no exit liquidity for VCs on Credo. And if you saw red flags and you still put money in, hopefully you learned a lesson. And I think you did, which is good. That lesson, I guarantee you, no matter how much you lost, is worth more than whatever you lost. Honestly, and I've had to learn that lesson. I think many people have had to learn that lesson. Every investor has to learn that lesson. But you need to be honest with yourself. And again, I'm sorry, disappointed. Maybe you don't want to, listen to what I'm saying anymore. That's fine, but it's on you, my friend. And it has to be on you, because if it's not on you, you don't learn the lesson. If you don't learn the lesson, it's going to happen over and over and over again, whether you listen to me or somebody else. Also, what do you predict being Coinmetro's biggest challenges? Oh, I think I missed one while going through these. Sorry, come back up here. You were on Twitter discussion with a guy says that Coinmetro fees and reviews was too good to be true and probably a scam according to volumes. You were on a Twitter discussion with a guy. Okay, how can you address that? Well, anybody can assume there's definitely fake reviews on Trustpilot. I see them. If you look up crypto, you'll see like some crypto exchange nobody's ever heard of that has 15,000 reviews and it's a 5.0. Well, I mean, that's an easy assumption to make. You can look at the reviews too and say, well, obvious, right? Volumes. I mean, if you're equating volumes to amount of happy people, I don't know how you make that equation. I don't know what that formula looks like. We have about 517, 518 reviews, something like that, 515, I don't know, on Trustpilot. That seems to me more or less accurate, when I look at it, at least comparatively speaking to the volumes and active users. It means that roughly 8% of active users have left a review. Yeah, that sounds about right to me. 1 in 12. Yeah, seems like a decent average. I think that's maybe that's higher than the status quo, but it seems pretty honest to me. That is a USP. Somebody talk about Deep Philippe talked about USPs. That is a USP. We've always had the USP of treating clients the right way, trying to give the best support, and making sure that people's questions get answered. So to me, it makes perfect sense. Someone that doesn't know that about us and says, "Oh, small exchange, how are they possibly any good?" Again, I don't know where that kind of formula gets put together in their brains, that somehow because if you're smaller, you can't be good. I don't know, but I address it just with honesty, right? I mean, the honest thing is those are honest reviews. We have never paid for a review. We've asked for reviews. We've gone to the community and say, "Hey guys, if you could, please go leave a review for us." But you could have left a bad one. Most people don't because they're actually happy with the service. Oh, already got through that one. What do you predict being Coinmetro's biggest challenges? Well, I think, regulation is going to get stiffer. It's going to become more complicated, probably dealing with regulators, dealing with banking providers and other regulated counterparties. I think the overall sentiment is going to be a challenge in 2023, like for everybody else. And like always, it's continuing to find the right people and build the right teams. That is never going to go away. That's always, I think, one of the biggest challenges, not just for Coinmetro, but for, almost any business, to be honest. Yep, Bastien. Yep, I agree. I mean, it's harsh. I know it's harsh. Trust me, everybody has to learn that lesson. But if you're at the gas station and some dude says you should buy stock in Tesla because Teslas are awesome, and you buy it, you can't blame the guy at the gas station, honestly. And you can make that, well, you're not a guy at a gas station. Well, I'm a dude sitting in a room on YouTube, which, to be honest, I might as well be a dude at a gas station. Hey, Kevin, could you go through how our crypto exchanges or companies valued in general? What kind of things increase or decrease a crypto company's value? Tech, patents, potential, something else? Well, there's like 7 different standard valuation methodologies for any business, right? Water. For traditional businesses, usually it's some type of multiplier based essentially on your, let's call them, net cash flow. So you take your cash flow, your revenues, you subtract kind of the expenses you can't really get away from. And it was EBITA, EBTIA, something like that is the standard acronym for this. Earnings before taxes and depreciation and appreciation, something like that. Anyway, whatever it is. So the accountants out there know what it is. So it doesn't really matter though for this explanation. So you take that, and then based on what business you're running, there's a multiplier, a standard multiplier. And it takes into account how long those businesses normally operate, how long they may be able to maintain kind of the same, a certain amount of growth, et cetera, et cetera. So if you have, a restaurant, there's a certain multiplier. If you have a office that offers services, there's a certain multiplier. If you get my point, whether that's a 3x, 5x, 10x, 12x, whatever. And so you're basically taking a multiplier of your kind of yearly net revenues. Then when it comes to like a tech company, well, we own our own tech. We've built all our own tech. It's all ours. That IP, that intellectual property, has a value. So that's one. And yes, patents as well. If you have patents, those are, if you're going to sell the patents, obviously that's part of the value. And potential is always going to be part of that value. So when a company is a startup, obviously not cash, not positive. They're not earning money. They're burning money. It's about looking at the market that they're in, the potential that they may grow based on the company itself, their products, their services, team, etc. Plus where the market is expected to go. And so you create a 3 to 5 year projection, and then based on those revenues or profits, you then apply a value, again, using some form of multiplier. There was, and this is kind of getting recrafted now because of the bear market. During bull market, many companies raise money by taking their revenues, not net, just revenues, and then literally X30 or higher. And that's how they came to their valuation. Obviously, in a bull market, people want to pay more money for stuff. We all know that, right? So you can look up, valuation methodologies, and you'll find a few. Like I said, there's kind of the standard, but there's still also like 6 others that people will use. And when it comes to valuations, it's all really about, like everything else in life, it's a game. So the company is trying to value itself as high as it can. So it's finding ways and finding things in value that it has that it wants to extrapolate into that valuation. Where on the other side of the table, you have the person that's going to invest, who's trying to do the exact opposite, trying to get that valuation as low as they can, argue those points so that they can buy in for a cheaper price. All right, more credo stuff. Sure, dire times for crypto now, but Coinmetro's 2022 average daily volume is less than 10% of the 25 million projected in the XCM to equity pitch. How far are we going to end up under the 50 million projected for 2023? I think these things are snowballs, to be honest. When it comes to those projections, I still think that the volumes that we have, I mean, obviously the market plays a role for sure. And you're right, even with the market as is, we could be doing much more volume than we're doing now. In all reality, we really started to have this cohesive marketing team and really start to spend money on advertising and start to see a return on that advertising only in the last months, right? Not in the last year, not in the last years, that's for sure. And so as we go into 2023, at some point, those projections are going to be broken and we're going to go above them. Whether that happens at the 50 million in 2023 or it happens in the projection for 2024, it's going to happen because inevitably we will hit that, momentum that we need. We just simply haven't gotten the momentum yet. And again, to somebody else's point, like, isn't it easy to get an active user? No, not really. It's a science. Once you crack the science, though, once you know the type of user, the segment that really does focus on you, once you understand how to activate them, once you know how to automate that process, and all those things are going on right now. We have some amazing people in the business right now working on all those segmentations, the mini segmentation, all the different automation, all the drip campaigns, et cetera, that once we get people in the door, even if we don't activate them immediately, they become active over time. Once that kind of science is done, it becomes an engine, and I've talked about this in the past. We just haven't gotten to that point to get there. But now I think we have the team that can do it. And I also know we have resources to do it. So it makes all the difference in the world. Yep. Always get the Bill Burr stuff. Hey, Kevin, how are you? Hope you're doing well. How are things going? Hope 22 will be another great year for Coinmetro. Hi, Elise. How are you? Nice to see you pop in here. Yep, doing good. I hope you're doing well as well. And yeah, I think Coinmetro is going to do good in 2023. And I hope you do too. So stay in touch. When correspondent bank fix with Finnish Nordea and SB banks? Good question. We're obviously waiting for that same information from our banking provider. I wish I could give an answer. All I know is that we're waiting on an answer. So that's why, well, you're waiting on an answer. As simple as that. Hey, Anonymous, if I knew who you are, I'd make that a bit more personal. Do you collect anything? If so, what and why? Do I collect any? I do collect art. I have some art. Why? That's a good question. And I, when I was a kid, I used to, hear people talk about art, and I always thought, the fuck, One, as an investment, as a place to store value, art, I think, is a good option, a better option than many things. Two, as I get older, I kind of like art. I like to look at something that represents something I either believe in and or something maybe that I want to aspire to. And I like the eclecticness of art. I've always been a bit eclectic, weird, I guess, is the easy way to describe that, right? Odd, different. So I like to find things that kind of, they speak to me in some way, right? I see something and I'm like, I like that. I don't know why I like it really, maybe, but I like it. And again, so art, I do collect a bit of art, and I have different themes on that art, different themes. And yeah, that's probably about it. When I was younger, I think I tried to collect things, but never really did, because it was kind of boring to me then. But yeah, now as an adult, at least for the past, maybe I would say 10 years. I actually bought my first art because I had won a piece of art in an FX trading competition from a guy named Mark Wagner. You can look him up online. He basically cuts dollar bills and then forms collages. They're really cool. So I won one of those, a signed poster actually, back in 2010 maybe. And because of that, it got me interested a little bit in art. And then now I've actually, collected a few of his pieces and some other artists as well. Well, lots of other artists actually. So art, I guess, is the answer to your question. I guess Katie Aminer talks about Casper Sills on fair launch, meaning no VC, no pre-mine. Fair launch. Okay, so you launch a token, and nobody's kind of, I don't know, got an upper hand. Well, I would say there's no such thing then as a fair launch, because people there's going to be people that have access to Caspa, for example, or whoever does something like this. There always will be that are able to inject capital faster than you and have more capital than you. So fair launch, I think, is a bullshit term in that sense. Look, companies need to survive. If the token does well and the company doesn't, the token's eventually not going to do well. If the company does well and the token has any connection to the company at all, even if it's just narrative, the token eventually will do well. And so companies need money. They may need VC funding. They may only be able to get those VCs in because of the token. They may, whatever, there's a lot of, I don't think you can paint a picture black and white like that. Lots of people try to paint black and white pictures all the time. Like, it has to be this way. No, it just needs to be done well, however you do it. This way, that way, some other way. So yeah, I think it seems like a marketing tactic to me then, to be honest. Yeah, look, you can sell XCM on Coinmetro. It just takes time. And I get that sucks. I get that. But again, we come back on this whole floor debate. I still think it was the right decision. We've protected the value of lots and lots of token holders throughout this, tumultuous 2022 market because of that floor. And yes, it means less liquidity, but more liquidity at less than a cent would not necessarily be a good thing, because maybe the money you need, let's say it's 100 euros, would be worth €1 or whatever, 5 euros. And then what's the difference if you can cash it out? And there's arguments made that, it wouldn't have went that low. Look what it is on, Uniswap. Yeah, well, not many people trade on Uniswap. And it's not, and people are basically pricing it themselves on Uniswap. Now, you could say that's what happens in an order book, but not necessarily. In an active order book, you will have people constantly trying to drive price lower if they want to buy. You'll have constantly people trying to drive price higher if they want to sell. And because they don't need to provide the collateral on the other side, it's much easier to do, which means the book becomes much more fluid. And no, it wouldn't be at 30 cents. And so I get it. We're working on it. We're doing everything we can, and there's more things that we're going to do going into early 2023. We're going to continue to work on it. The best thing we can do is continue to market Coinmetro and get more active users. The market sentiment changing will also help greatly. Obviously, there's nothing we can do about that. But that floor is we talk about trust. People bought into Coinmetro, bought into XCM because of that. Not Coinmetro, but they bought into XCM because of that floor. And if we remove that floor, we kill that trust. And that trust, to me, is worth far more at this juncture, and I think forever, than a temporary illiquid market. I remember a few months back you mentioned it's just a few whales holding a large stack of the CM sell wall, but then you said a lot of orders are 5K or less, and the focus should be there. Which is it? It's both. When I mentioned it first, there was only 13 people in the sell side of the book. Over time, though, more and more people added smaller orders to the book. So it's both. The concentration, however, you can clearly see, look, it went from 2 million, 2.1 million XCM on the sell side down to, well, right now it's around 600K. But those additional orders came in from people that weren't in the book before. So I think it went down to roughly 300 to 400K, which means it went down to, 1/5 of what it was. It dropped 80% because the vast majority of people that were sitting in the book were just 13. When we checked the last time, it was 12 or 13. There might have been 15, 16 by the time we actually culled the book. But in doing so, more people, because the wall was smaller, decided to come in and put in their 5K. And that's why we got back up to 600. But both of those answers are right. I mean, depending on what timestamp you're looking at, they're both accurate. If you had 15 GPUs to mine one coin with, what coin would you mine? Yeah, that's, I don't know if I can even answer that question. Oh my God. You imagine, I'm pretty sure I'm audible, right? I'm pretty loud, right? I mean, it's obvious I'm talking, hopefully not to myself. Anyway, sorry about that, guys. If you had 15 GPUs, I honestly can't answer that question, to be honest, because I'm not so much into mining anymore. Now, I know of people who mine with GPUs. We have lots of clients that mine with GPUs. They mine all kinds of stuff, Ravencoin and, Thought and all this other stuff, right? So I don't know, though. I honestly can't give you a good answer to that question. And I don't want you to come back like the other guy and say I gave you bad advice and then whatever you mind went to shit or something. Any progress with the Emirates or whatever? I'll be flying to Dubai end of January, early February for about 2 weeks. I already have about 6 or 7 meetings booked with different funds, as well as investors, as well as regulators. So there will be news probably by the 15th. I'll be in Barcelona. So probably the 20th of February. Around there, I will have some news out of the Emirates. Absolutely. With all the AI development, what do you think the relationship with the industry will be going forward? Well, I just keep remembering the head popping in. Sorry. The relationship with AI and crypto. Well, the relationship with AI and finance is already kind of old, right? I mean, automated trading, high frequency trading has had some form of artificial intelligence for some time. I think that's only going to get more potent now that you have systems that can learn on the fly, like there's chat bots and image generators, etc. What that means is that they're rapidly being able to absorb information, and they learn very quickly on the fly. So what does that mean for trading? Well, if you can take all the information from Twitter, from different online kind of newspapers, from different opinion blogs, etc., correlate those, make a correlation matrix, and immediately make trade decisions based on information. Not that that doesn't happen now, but if we can apply the same type of fast learning techniques, which again, not that it doesn't happen now, and continue to refine those, you're gonna end up seeing a lot more volume come into crypto, because people will be using those systems in order to essentially push additional trade traffic as more high frequency trading starts to happen within crypto. Right now, there's not a lot of high frequency trading. In fact, by pure definition, I would say there's zero high frequency trading in crypto, because there's just no way to do it, because latency, etc. However, that will inevitably change as the market grows, and AI will help provide additional liquidity, and also hopefully provide or to funds at least the ability to constantly remain profitable even in shit markets. What that means then for the market in general, because you can't, if everybody had access to it, this is the thing, if everybody has access to that same really smart AI, not everybody can win. So then the question, then it comes down to timing. So you will be right, but you won't get in at the right time or out at the right time. And so it'll be a race to be the fastest, which is usually what happens in most markets. If you look at equities, there's a lot of players with access to the same information. But if you can be a millisecond faster, half a millisecond faster, you win. And so it becomes a technology race, not necessarily a blockchain technology race, but a technology race. That's why centralized order books aren't going anywhere, because you can't do that in a decentralized order book. And you never will be able to beat a centralized order book with a decentralized one. I don't care how much the technology expands. It's, and the simple analogy, I think I said it here before. If I'm sitting at my computer with a finger on the button and you put the fastest person in the world 10 meters behind me and say, go, I already clicked the button. I could be slow. I could have Alzheimer's and, only have one finger on my right arm and whatever, and have a reaction speed of a turtle. And I'm still clicking that button before that dude does. So yeah, that's that. The name of the game is probably going to become speed. Thoughts on Donald? I don't know which Donald you're talking about, so I can't really give any thoughts. How many years of bear market can Coinmetro survive? Impossible question to answer, because we can make money in a bear market. I'm 100% confident of that. It's all about finding the right formula to grab clients. There's still clients in a bear market. There's still trading in a bear market. There's still people looking for passive income, even more so sometimes in a bear market. All those things can still happen. We just need to figure out the formula. So it's not a question I can answer. Bear market doesn't mean less money for a service company that services traders, a challenger bank or whatever. Does not mean that at all. However, if you're talking about like how many with our current burn, which is probably a better question, a little less than a year. But obviously we will raise an additional money. And so raising that money means we last longer. Fintech is, we're going to be raising money. This is not going to be the last time we raise money. We will do multiple more rounds. We're going to end up at some point with a series, EFG. That's just part of the game. You need to bring in capital. You need to be able to expand. And even sometimes when you're cash flow positive or you're even net, like actual profitable, that still doesn't mean you're not going to raise money. So raising money is just, just part of the game. How many employees? 84 currently, I believe. I think. Thoughts on PARSIQ? PARSIQ's one of my favorites. Still own a good amount of PARSIQ. Haven't sold a single one. Bought them all after the IEO at a really good price. So I'm holding tight. They originally were focused very much on the token. The token did really well, and then the focus went on the business. Now the business is starting to do well. They're expanded. They have more employees. They're doing really cool stuff. Eventually that focus will fall back on the token. Maybe not during a bear market, but eventually it will. And I think the foundation there is solid. New projects with Kadena. We will have we now officially, I think it's official now, have our official first biz dev hire, I guess is what I should say. And that's going to be part of the plan for our biz dev hires, to make sure that with our current Friday, man, it's rough. Friday and early morning, which is like double rough, I think. We'll make sure that with our current partnerships that, those are worked on so that we can continue to provide value both to you guys as our clients and to their clients as well. Hi, Kevin. I understood that after that investment round, Coinmetro now valued at estimated 180 million. I'm curious how that valuation is calculated based. Sorry if the question was already asked. Yeah, it's been asked. It actually was asked today, which is weird. Sure. So that is based on both owned IP. All of our infrastructure we own. So, well, I shouldn't say infrastructure. All of the tech we've built, we own. So that's part of it. Also, it's a standard multiplier. It's a calculation based on current revenue, our cash flow projections, and then for the next 3 years, and then a multiplier as well based on multipliers that have been used by other companies in this industry to raise money. Recently, when we raised that 80 million round. So that's essentially how it was done. If you want some more information, you can always ping me and I'll give you some more specifics. Thoughts on blockchain gaming and any projects you're interested in? I don't think gamers give a shit that games are on the blockchain. I think blockchain people like to see games on the blockchain. I think there's a lot less blockchain people than there are gaming people. I guess hopefully that probably sums up my answer. I haven't really seen anything I'm super interested in. I think gaming is interesting, and I think this kind of coming together of gaming AI tokenization is interesting. Games have already tokenized shit for a long time. They just haven't done it in a way where that token can actually be moved around somewhere else, decentralized, to different wallets or different addresses, and then sold on marketplaces. And I think that's gonna be a thing. But building games on blockchain just seems to me like, let's just take two buzzwords and see if we can put them together. Not, and I don't know if anybody really cares. Weeks ago, you said tier system will be updated. Weeks has been. When new XCM tier? Like, guys, it's been weeks. Well, that could be 1,000 weeks, bro. I mean, I don't know. They're going to get updated. So it's in the roadmap. I believe it's now Q1. And the reason that it got moved to Q1 is because there's a few other things we want to do in conjunction with those tier updates to also facilitate a little bit more flow into that XCM order book. And we weren't ready with those other things. And thus, it was pushed back. But it's happening. It's happening. Thanks for the response. I realize I came off juvenile, not taking responsibility. I understand it's my fault, but needed to vent after seeing the big brain Kevin and diamond memes and falling for them. Yeah. Well, no matter how big your brain or your forehead is, man, you're never going to be right 100% of the time. And I can't say I'm wrong yet. And if Credo fails tomorrow and literally fails and the token is no longer tradable, well, then I was wrong. But sometimes to make money on something, it can take a long time. Sometimes it doesn't. I know in crypto, people are used to making money in 6 days, 10 hours, 15 minutes. Oh, I bought Shiba Inu for $100. Now I'm worth $1 billion. But that's not real world. That's not the future of crypto either. Because as more liquidity comes in, all those things go away. It becomes much more difficult to see those type of moves in the market. So, look, I'm never going to be right 100% of the time. I'm not going to be the smartest guy in the room. I have an opinion just like everybody else. We have picked a lot of diamonds, and we failed at one or two so far. But that doesn't mean, again, that you should listen to what we say. I mean, you could take it into account. You can come here and say, Forehead said this. Okay, well, fuck them. I don't know, or, I agree with them. But, don't take anybody's opinion as your own, ever, on anything. Listen to everyone, but don't listen to anyone. That's the advice I can give you. Are you prepared? As your updated XMTX, you're going to be released soon. As said, it is, yes, soon is a good way to describe it. The toxic positivity of the community can be as bad as toxic negativity. I love the word toxic positivity. That's definitely some new age shit, man. Yeah, too much positivity can be seen in a negative light by people that have an issue, right? Like if I go somewhere and they gave me shit service and everybody's like, this place is amazing, I'm sitting there going, oh, for fuck's sake, I'm upset, right? And it makes me more upset. So yeah, you're right. But I think our community has a bit of a mix. Now, when you roll in and say, I hate these, this shit sucks, or, you use some type of vernacular that people think is aggressive. Well, then they're kind of aggressive with their positivity, right? But, whatever, it's an open community. I can't control the internet. And I don't really like to silence anyone unless it's absolutely egregious, on either side, really. I mean, if it's egregious, then they probably need to calm down a bit. But if not, come on. I mean, I would hope we're all adults here, right? I mean, and then having to vent, man, go ahead and vent. I do, trust me, I vent. I am a venter. I like venting. Venting is a pastime of mine. It might even be a hobby. So no problem there. When Binance kill? Well, I don't know if we're going to kill Binance, but I think Binance will get killed. I said 3 to 5 years, 2018, 2023 is 5 years. So we'll see. Echo Chamber, Discord, TG, and others giving out an image of an exchange and a CEO, which is credible. Again, man, I'm not trying to toot my own horn here at all, but I think, making what you decided to be a bad call, right? Because right now, obviously it's down like everything else. I would say, I mean, what isn't down 80 to 90% aside from XCM right now from its highs when you talk about altcoins? But I don't think that takes away credibility or expertise. You could be an expert and be wrong. In fact, if you're an expert and you've never been wrong, you're full of shit. I mean, that's it. People are wrong. You can't be right all the time. But that's how the game works. That's why you don't put all your money. So what is the old saying? Don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? What's the plan with bonds and when? End of January is the expiration on the bonds. And then, you will be given an option on how you want to, liquidate those. And that'll probably come through email. So that's about it. One more question, guys. Hey, Kevin, I've been with Coinmetro since the launch. I have had one slight problem, which was resolved in no time, and the issue was my own in the end. Coinmetro to put is simply number one to me. Well, thanks, Kurt. I really do appreciate that. We see a lot of messages like this. It's great to see them. Thank you. I hope that's not toxic positivity, but I'm glad to see those things. The exchange and CEO are credible, though. What is your point? All right. Yeah, I think we're going to have to end it there. I see that there's a few more questions, but just hitting the top of the hour. I got to get ready for another meeting. I appreciate all the support. I appreciate the venting. I appreciate, I think a little negativity sometimes is fine. I'm okay with criticism. Let it roll in. Let's talk about it. That's why we do this show. Have a great weekend, everybody. Spend time with friends and family. If you can't do it physically, do it virtually. As you know, when you go see your family, if you're going to go celebrate New Year's, make sure that as soon as that ball drops or whatever, the fireworks go off, everybody's, tooting fucking horns or whatever, scream out XCM to the moon and make sure you do, because, well, that's what we do, right? That's what we do as a community. We help each other out. Anyway, you can always find me on Telegram at Kevin Murcko. You can also tweet me at Kevin Murcko. I try to get to all those messages. Don't be afraid to bother the shit out of me, because I get way too many messages. So if I don't see it immediately or I don't respond to it immediately, it goes to the end of the list and I don't see it and don't remember it. So anyway, ping me. I usually get back to most, hopefully all. Have a great weekend. Thanks for the support as always. 2023 is going to be an interesting year for crypto. It's going to be an interesting year for Coinmetro. All I know is that we will grow in one way, shape, or form throughout 2023. We do have a great team. We are ready to rock and roll. There's lots of great things happening, even if the market doesn't look so rosy. But we're going to get there. Cheers, guys.